Hello and welcome to a look at Dino X for the Commodore 64, a game from 1983, made, released, whatever, by Microfun. The plot of Dino X is that Time Master Tim has been very curious about how the dinosaurs existed, so he has been time warping back in time in order to observe them and study them and all that kind of stuff. But unfortunately, he carried measles with him and has infested the dinosaur X with measles. And they are now doomed because, of course, they have no cure for measles, and measles are apparently fatal to dinosaurs. So Tim now has to gather as many dinosaur eggs as he possibly can and send them through the time warp back to present time as of 1983 in order to preserve the dinosaurs. And that is the basic plot of the game. Not entirely super advanced and I suppose a bit bleh, but it is what it is. In order to rescue set X, Tim has to pick them up, and most of them are hidden behind boulders. Those boulders can be used to squash enemies that appear on screen, but they can unfortunately also hit hatching dinosaur eggs, which means that of course you will squash the dinosaurs, the baby dinosaurs, which will actually cost you points. The point system is going up and down like a yo-yo depending on what you do or not do. And the scoring numbers are not exactly the highest ever seen, but yeah, it is again what it is. Various different enemies will appear on the screen in order to block your progress or delay it. And the main adversaries you will face continuously are the proto snakes and the proto spiders. The proto snakes will spawn on any level and just climb, run, slither, I think it's called, across the level. And of course, spiders will come down from the upper levels and later on in higher or at higher skill levels. The spiders will be coming both from above and below, and the snakes will become more prevalent and other obstacles will start appearing. There's a main sort of time factor in the game, and that is the dinosaur mom, because of course he's not overly keen on you fiddling her eggs, I think it's called. So sooner or later she'll want to step on you if she's given the chance. And the way you can prevent that is by building a fire. You will find wood pieces on the different levels, and if you take one piece of wood and drop on top of another piece of wood, you will start a fire which will delay a dynamom from appearing until you play at the highest skill level, where then a dynamom don't really care about the fire and will just start appearing all the time. When she's appearing on the scene, it's hard to miss because a huge foot will come down, and if you happen to be in the same area as the huge foot, you can possibly imagine it's not going to be particularly healthy for your existence. In order to gather the eggs, you have to move above them and press down and fire and pick them up one at a time. And you can carry a maximum of 3 eggs. But on the different levels, there will be a power we just picked up, which will allow us to gather infinite amount of eggs as long as we got the power. If we get hit by any creature, we will lose the power, and on top of that, we will also get contaminated. And that contamination will be showcased by the bottom of the screen on the left side. There's a percentage number, which is 100%, and that is basically your non-contamination level. If you get hit by any of the normal enemies, you will start taking damage. That percentage counter will go down, and if it reaches zero, you will devolute, not evolute, evolve, devolve, I think it's called. Blah, words difficult. You know what I mean. You will devolve into a spider, which is always lovely, but not very practical because it, of course, removes your ability to pick up eggs and rescue them, so you lose a life in the process. Once you have picked up the eggs, you have to take them to the time warp, and then you will warp in somewhere else on the level. Yeah, I'm fairly sure they are semi-randomly uh, placed the time points or time warps, but I also think that they are there's a fixed number of time warp spawn points, so you can cycle through the different points. But of course, you have to be a bit careful when you warp because you may actually warp into the path of an enemy and get contaminated, which is not particularly useful. Once all eggs has been picked up and taken to the time warp, you will progress to the next level next time you time warp out. As you get further into the game, the dinosaur eggs will start to hatch, I think it's called. As you can probably see, we've captured a baby dinosaur. And in order to trap them, you basically just have to jump over them. But you have to be quite accurate with your jump when you jump over them. But then they will be trapped in a time warp field, which means that next time you use the time warp, any baby dinosaurs that are trapped will also get warped out. So you effectively rescue them. You have 3 lives, and you can gain an extra life by scoring 200 points. And as you can probably see by the score currently carrying, it is not necessarily easy to obtain 200 points, but if you are patient and skilled enough, it can keep you going for a bit longer. Now, from a graphical point of view, I think we can safely agree that Dino X is perhaps not the greatest looking game ever made, but it is entirely acceptable for the time, for the age of the game, I think it's called. And of course, the fact that it works. It's perfectly serviceable. It's not exactly spectacular, but you can identify Tim, you can identify snakes, you can identify spiders, and all sorts of other things that you need to identify. So I suppose in that regard, it is perfectly acceptable. The sound design, um, for the time, it would have been decent. For more modern games on the Commodore 64, it would be rather simplistic, but again, it fulfills its purpose, and as such, it is perfectly acceptable. The controls are fairly spot on. The main issue with the controls is getting used to the fact that when you're jumping from platform to platform, you actually have to jump quite late compared to what you might think in order to make the jumps between the platforms. But once you get used to it, it's not the biggest issue. The gameplay, it is as I've explained: gather eggs, take them to the time warp, progress to the next level, and rinse and repeat, facing more enemies, faster enemies, and more obstacles, and of course more eggs to pick up. It is a bit simplistic, and there was a lot of games from this era that were quite similar in their foundation, based around the fact that you are running and jumping across platforms, enemies, and whatnot, picking up something, dropping it off somewhere else, and that kind of stuff. So I suppose it's not entirely unique. But for its age, it's actually got a surprising amount of content, and if you are patient enough, you can probably get rather good at this game. But for me, it is not necessarily something I would want to keep playing. On that note, thanks for watching. Take care. See you next time. Bye bye for now.